Perhaps you grew up in the 1970s and didn't even realize how that slower world, with less noise and fewer stimuli, shaped the way your mind works today. Sometimes you just feel you prefer calmer environments, people speaking softly, or even those moments when nobody says anything, and yet you feel completely at ease. Many people who grew up in that era carry a kind of inner silence that isn't empty or sad. It's simply a way of existing. While the world became noisier, faster-paced, and full of notifications, you continued to value pauses, lingering gazes, and conversations that don't need to fill every space. If you identify with the feeling that silence comforts you more than noise, perhaps this has older roots than you imagined back in your childhood, in the 70s. If anything in this topic sounds familiar to you, please share it in the comments. This is a quiet space for reflection and identification, the quiet nostalgia that 1970s kids carry when revisiting old mental routines. Sometimes, without realizing it, you find yourself repeating small mental routines from when you were a child, looking out the window while thinking about life, organizing your thoughts before speaking, or simply drifting off in silence while the environment follows its own rhythm. This isn't wasting time. It's the way your mind has learned to rest. You might notice that certain memories don't come as grand scenes, but as sensations: the quieter house, the TV with fewer channels, the distant sound of the street. When you find yourself enjoying calm things today, it's as if you're revisiting, for a few moments, that mental atmosphere of your childhood. This quiet nostalgia appears not only in conscious memories, but also in how you deal with the present. The comfort of being quiet, of observing more than speaking, of not needing to fill every space with conversation, can be a gentle echo of that time when silence was a natural part of the day. You can be in a room full of familiar faces, listening to conversations happening around you, and still feel like you don't need to talk all the time. It's not shyness or disinterest, it's just that, for you, being present is enough. Your participation doesn't need to be measured by the number of words you say. Perhaps you enjoy listening more, observing expressions, noticing details that go unnoticed by others, while many feel compelled to fill the air with their voices. You find comfort in following everything in silence, as if you were watching calmly without any rush to enter the scene. Being quiet around other people doesn't mean you're disconnected. Often, it's quite the opposite. You feel connected in a more internal way, without needing to prove anything to anyone, as if you learned early on that silence is also a way of being together. Constant noise tires you out faster than it would tire someone else. Environments with many mixed sounds, loud music, people talking at the same time, TV on, traffic in the background, can leave you exhausted faster than those who seem to enjoy this sonic chaos. For you, the noise is not just sound, it's as if it occupies too much space inside your mind. You might notice this in simple situations, like at parties, shopping malls, crowded meetings, or even at home when everything is on at once. À some point, you feel an almost physical urge. Go to a quieter corner or simply disconnect a little from what's happening around you. This tiredness isn't fussiness or an exaggeration. It's simply a sign that your mind was trained in a less noisy world and still functions better that way. While the environment fills with noise, you feel your energy being drained, and silence becomes a kind of invisible recharge. If you've noticed this pattern in yourself or someone close to you, right, this makes sense. This helps this video reach more people. You sense that the silence isn't empty, it has texture. For many people, silence is unhappy. But for you, silence seems to have layers. It can smell like early morning, hear the distant sound of a neighbor, hear the clock ticking, hear light streaming through the window. It's not the absence of life, it's a different kind of presence. When everything is quiet, your mind doesn't necessarily stop moving. Sometimes it's in those moments that stray thoughts, memories, and ideas you didn't even know you had stored away emerge. Silence becomes an internal stage where things can finally appear without competing with the noise from outside. You've learned, perhaps without ever putting it into words, that silence is also company. It offers you a space where nothing demands an immediate response. And it's in this space that you feel a deep familiarity, as if you were returning to a known place within yourself. Superficial conversations seem more tiring than staying quiet. You might even participate in casual conversations about nothing important, but deep down you feel a certain weariness when the conversation remains superficial. Talking about the weather, quick gossip, or repetitive topics doesn't hold your attention for long, and sometimes you prefer just listening in silence. It's not that you don't like people, it's that your mind seems to be searching for something a little more genuine. A sincere comment, a shared memory, a genuine question about how someone is doing. That awakens you more than any automatic exchange of pre-written phrases. That's why, often, staying quiet is less tiring than forcing a shallow conversation. You don't feel the need to fill every second with words. When the topic doesn't touch on anything real, silence ends up seeming more honest and more comfortable for you. You feel more like yourself when nobody's talking. Perhaps you'll notice that when the atmosphere finally calms down, it's as if you come back to yourself. Your mind slows down, your breathing becomes lighter, and a feeling of "now it's me again" emerges, even if you don't say anything out loud. In moments like these, driving alone, tidying the house in silence, having coffee without interruptions, you feel your thoughts flow more naturally. There's no need to adapt to anyone else's pace, nor to mold your words to fit any social expectation. It is in these quiet moments that you recognize yourself more clearly. You notice tastes, memories, worries, and dreams that are muffled when everything is too noisy. Silence becomes a gentle mirror, showing who you are when you don't have to perform for anyone. The noise seems to invade a space that should be yours alone. When the noise is overwhelming, people talking loudly, blaring music, constant notifications, you can feel like something is crossing an invisible boundary. It's not just physical discomfort. It's almost as if the noise enters an inner space you'd like to protect. You might get annoyed by sounds that others don't even notice. The TV on in the background with no one actually watching. Conversations at an excessive volume, repetitive noises. For you, each sound occupies a piece of your attention, as if it were stealing small parts of your peace. This doesn't mean you don't enjoy joy, laughter, or music, but there comes a point where excess makes you feel like you've lost control of your own inner environment. In those moments, the urge to retreat, close the door, or lower the volume isn't drum. It's a way of taking care of that space you feel is yours. You notice that you think better when there is no sound around. Perhaps you've already noticed that your best idea come whenever sit early in the morning, late at night, or that house really slows down. When the outside world quiets down, your mind seems to organize itself. Things that seemed confusing during the day, with 1,000 sounds and demands at the same time, suddenly become clearer. You recall details, find simple solutions to complicated problems, or at least understand better what you are feeling. The silence acts almost like a filter, leaving only the essential. This preference for thinking in quiet environments isn't social laziness. It's a way of functioning. Your mind has become accustomed to having more space between stimuli, as was common in decades with less constant noise. And even today, it's in this sound void that you find your way within yourself. If this analysis helped you better understand certain habits, comment, "Now I understand." Your participation strengthens the community. Silence doesn't scare you, it calms you in a way you can't explain. While some people feel uncomfortable when the conversation stops or when the environment gets too quiet, you feel almost the opposite. When the sound fades, your body seems to relax, as if it has received an invisible permission to rest a little inside. Perhaps you've experienced situations where someone comments, "Wow, what an odd silence," and inside you think, "For me, it's perfect like this." This type of moment reveals how, for you, silence isn't a sign of absence, but of a gentler, more tranquil presence. You may not have the exact words to explain it, but you feel it. Silence gives you back a kind of inner balance that noise takes away. It's not something you endure, it's something you choose. And that choice often comes from a mind that learned early on to find peace precisely in the absence of noise. You grew up thinking that being quiet was normal, not loneliness. In his childhood, perhaps there weren't so many distractions, few TV channels, no internet, simpler games, free time without so many stimuli. Being alone with his own thoughts wasn't strange. It was just part of the day. Silence was the setting, not a threat. Therefore, today, when you are quiet, this posture may be misinterpreted by those who associate silence with isolation or sadness. But inside, you feel something different, an ancient familiarity, as if you were repeating a pattern that has always been part of who you are. The world around you may have sped up, filling every minute with sounds, screens, and notifications. But a part of you remains at the same pace as before, where being quiet didn't mean being out of the loop, but rather being present in a different way. And that's where something interesting about you is revealed. Silence was never a void to be filled, but a place where you feel at home. Looking at these small habits, preferring silence, tiring more quickly with noise, enjoying quiet moments even around other people, you might realize that it's not just a matter of personal taste. There's a history behind it, a time when the world was less noisy and your mind was shaped by that environment. It's possible that many of your current choices, such as avoiding overly chaotic environments, preferring deeper conversations, or valuing calm, are subtle ways of preserving that kind of inner peace you knew long ago, not as something too old for this time, but as a valuable trait you carry with you to this day. You don't need to force yourself to fully adapt to a noisy world to be normal. Understanding that silence is good for you, that it organizes you, and that it says something about how you've learned to exist, can bring a silent relief. It's okay to function this way. Has this behavior ever caught your attention at some point in your life? Share your experience in the comments. If you enjoy content that helps you better understand your own mind, subscribe to the channel. Here we explore common mental habits in a clear and human way.